I hate gift giving and receiving.
Receiving gifts is so weird. What do you say? Thank you?
This is Coffee Convos with Kail Lowry and Lindsay Chrisley.
I really want you to be in your feels, Kail.
That does not interest me whatsoever.
I feel very attacked by you.
A spirited discussion about motherhood, friendship, family, and life in the public eye.
I'm just not with the fakery anymore.
There's a fakery bakery around here.
Here's Kail and Lindsay.
Hello, Kail,
Hey.
and welcome to Coffee Combos podcast this morning.
Yeah,
What the fuck are you doing?
My kids are not at school today because they all had dentist appointments, and since they were like in the middle of the day, kind of, the appointments started at 10. But since I have 4 kids, whatever, it didn't make sense for me. It's 12:30, so it doesn't really make sense for me to take the kids to school now.
Ma'am?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you this, and then every single person that's listening to this that have multiples. Do you feel like it is better to take them all and just like get it done at one time? Or do you feel like it's less hectic if you went to like 4 separate dentist appointments?
For me, I prefer all at once because I don't want to go. Lux and Lincoln are at the same school. And so even like yesterday, Lincoln had an orthodontist appointment at like 11. So I was like, I don't want to go pull him out at 11 and still have to go pick up Lux later in the day. So she was, I called and she was so accommodating. And she was like, if you want, I can schedule it for 2:30. And then that's towards the end of the day. So I could just pick both of them up. So I actually prefer them all at once. And also Creed does really, really well when he sees the other kids go before him.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
he was already asking to go next. It was so cute. He said, my turn next, when he saw Isaac get his teeth. Because once he sees it, where if I only took maybe one kid, he might not have been ready. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes so much sense.
Thankfully today, he only saw one kid and he wanted to go next. So we did. When he's asking to go next, we make sure we get him in. But so same thing for yesterday when we had the orthodontist appointment. Isaac was supposed to go on Thursday, but I'm like, I don't want to take Lincoln to the orthodontist on Tuesday or Monday and then take Isaac on Thursday. So when I went in there, I said, is there any possibility you can get them both in today so I don't have to come back? And they were like, yeah, absolutely. So they were super accommodating. And then same for like the eye doctor. Lux and I both have eye doctor appointments tomorrow. It just makes it for us. I know people with multiples, maybe they like the one-on-one. But for me, I like it all in one day.
See, for me, I just have one. So it's just whatever his appointment is. But what happened to me was, I don't know how this happened. And maybe it's like common for everyone when I say this, but I feel like Jackson's appointments all end up falling, like everything needs to be done around the same time.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
his yearly appointment, dentist, blah, 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 like everything at the same time. So then I just feel like I'm running around doing appointments, but then I'm pretty much done for the year. So then it's just like nice. I just don't know what that multiple kid life looks like. And the chaos of that would probably send me over the edge. So for those reasons alone, I'm out. No,
I feel the same way. Because when I realized how my week went this week between dentist, orthodontist, eye doctor, Lincoln's birthday, everything was this week. I was like, wow, I'm so overwhelmed. But also then I'm done for, just like you said, I'm done for the next 6 months. They don't have to do any of this except the ortho is a little bit different because I have one in braces and one in a retainer. But at least for eye doctor and the dentist, we're done for at least 6 months. And I was telling the kids, I said, what's funny? I said, because and I've said this before on Coffee Combos, I really, really take pride in the fact that I go to all my kids' appointments are scheduled every 6 months or their yearly physical. And I take them to all of that because my mom never did. When I was an adult and I finally started going to the dentist, I probably had 10 or 12 cavities because my mom never took me to, she would only take me to the physician if I was sick, which I typically had strep throat as a kid. And she never took me to the dentist unless there was a problem. So I really pride myself on keeping these appointments, maintaining their health, making sure that they get to their appointments. And I don't know, I just feel good about it. And I know that they actually really like going to the dentist.
I feel like you did exactly the opposite of everything that your mom did. Like you saw what she did and then you were just like, okay, because none of that seemed to work, I'm going to do everything the opposite way.
Yes, 100%.
which would that be considered a trauma response?
I'm going to go ahead and say yes, but it's also probably like what would be considered
normal
and like what you're supposed to do. So it's normal, but it's also a trauma response for me. Like I wanted to make sure that everybody is good to go and has their appointments and maintains their health and, you know, does all of that. So I don't know. Yes, it's a trauma response, but it's also what's supposed to be normal.
Oh my gosh. Let me tell you what happened this morning. So I call Will because I have some family things that are going on next week, Monday and Tuesday, and it's my holiday break. And so I told him, I was like, you know, I have these family things going on, not kid friendly, need to take care of these things and be present for this. So is there any way that, you know, you could help? If not, and these are working days for you, because they are, I was like, you know, you can offer it to your parents to have an overnight, because I don't think that Jackson has had any overnights with Will's parents, like solo without Will, since we got divorced.
Oh,
and
wow.
It made me think, I was like, wow, I really need to talk about this, because I wonder how often that happens in divorce situations when you're sharing time, and the timeshare is like 50-50 in our case, right? He goes to Will, and I think that Will doesn't want to forego any of his time for Jackson to spend individual time with his parents, because he would be losing that time. And then I don't want to lose time, so I deal with the same thing. I wonder how often grandparents miss out on what used to be their normal, because now the parents are time sharing.
Not even just grandparents, but essentially like Lincoln, when, not to speak on whatever, I'm going to speak on it. Javi's family is so close. Like he's also missing out on time with like his Nina, which is his godmother, who's also Javi's sister.
Mm-hmm.
And they live here. He misses out on time with a lot of family. You know what I mean? Like they're so close. Like Javi's brothers and sisters, like literally, like they're divide and conquer. If someone's gone or someone's away, they pick up the slack, or they pick up, you know, the kids from school or whatever. They do a phenomenal job with that. So he actually misses out with time with his cousins and things like that too. So, and that sucks.
Well, and I'm like, okay, I'm, you know, doing the offer to give them the time, because I can't have him on those days anyway, even though it is my time. I sit back and think, and I'm like, you know what? It's actually very important for him to be spending time with them, because he did spend a decent amount of time with his grandparents before we got divorced. But Will and I weren't like individually losing time, if that makes sense, you know? So it was like, oh, he's just going to, you know, his grandparents for the weekend, and then we'll get him back, and it gives us a break together. Now that just looks so very different. And then also, but I tried to be like very splitting holidays and stuff, because I do take holidays so seriously. I feel like I think about all of the things that I felt when I was a kid, when my parents were splitting stuff, and how I felt. And I can tell you, like, when I was a little girl, my mom would take my brother and I to her grandmother's house on Christmas Eve. And it was like always like a Christmas Eve night thing. We got Christmas pajamas like every year, and like did that thing. But I can remember specifically feeling like I was missing out somewhere else, because I was where I was at, but I also wanted to be where I was at, but knew I was still missing out, and also felt like, okay, I've got to look at the clock, because I know I have to be back to Dad's by this time. I was always like paranoid and felt like the rush around. And I'm sure a lot of kids of divorce have felt like that before. And I never want Jackson to feel like he's missing out on something. So when the email came home from the school about the Thanksgiving like feast or whatever, you know how they do at school.
Yeah.
They let you have 2 tickets. So like both parents can come. But I told Will, I was like, well, since Thanksgiving, you had him last year, I have him this year. Your parents aren't going to get an opportunity to celebrate with him. So they can take those tickets. If you'll forego yours, I'll forego my ticket, and they can go and eat with him at school. And it was so
that
cute.
Was so sweet.
He was so excited yesterday. Whenever I talked to him, he was like, my Baba and Papa came to my school and did Thanksgiving feast, and then they checked me out early, and then we went shopping at Goodwill and we got stuffed animals. Like, he was really excited, and it's made me really reflect on, you know, I'm not really missing out on much by not getting school Thanksgiving, right? But they feel like they're gaining so much by getting it.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure that they're so appreciative of that. So I'm actually really proud of you. That was like a big decision for you guys. I saw a TikTok that was along the lines too. It was like, I don't know who needs to hear this, but give up your holiday. Like, give it to the other parent. It's not, don't make the child feel rushed, kind of what you just described. Like, you know, don't make them feel like they have to be back at your house at a certain time. And that's part of the reason why I gave up holidays. I don't want it to be a fight. I don't want to feel like they're splitting their time. I'll make time to see my cousins at some point so that the kids can play. Like, we'll do it in the summer. We'll do it at some other time. So
see, that's why we did in our custody schedule, we did the arrangement to where, and I know people do it so differently. So I'm not saying the way that we're doing it is like the right way, the wrong way, or the best way. But I feel like it's best for us because when we looked at holidays and stuff, we looked at a long-term plan, like not Jackson being 8 years old when we went through this, right? Like, we're looking at, okay, eventually we will have other significant others, and eventually one or both of us might have more children, or whomever we're with might have kids. And so when we're looking at this schedule, we're not going to split the holiday week, right? Like, you get Christmas Eve and then I'll get Christmas Day, because that's how my parents did it whenever I was growing up. And that was a freaking disaster. So we just do like the week of Christmas and then the week of New Year's and split it that way. And then on off years for like Thanksgiving, like the 1 week holidays, you know, or whatever we do on off years.
right.
Or odd even, I guess is what they call it. But I can remember growing up on Christmas morning and waking up, doing presents at my dad's, not being able to like lounge around in pajamas because Kyle and I had to get dressed so that we could go to our mom's to open Christmas. And it never just like felt
like you couldn't even play with the stuff that you opened at your dad's.
No. So then it always just kind of felt like this rush around and to like appease everyone. And I wouldn't advise that to anyone because the kids ultimately are the ones losing. Like, when you feel like you're gaining, you have to think about what they are actually losing.
Everlywell, I just got the metabolism test in the mail, and I'm going to take that probably today or tomorrow. I'm super excited because Everlywell is something that I've been using for probably 2 or 3 years now since we started Coffee Combos. And I'm super excited because there's no truer way to say I love you than by taking care of each other. And that's why this year, the gift of health is something that we all need. With Everlywell, you can find 30 plus at-home lab tests, vitamin supplements, and more for every person on your holiday list. And I just think it's cool because it could actually benefit somebody. It's practical, which is, you guys know I'm big on practical gifts.
Since everybody in my life has poop problems, I am going to get them the food sensitivity test for Christmas. So if anybody who personally knows me is listening to this, sorry about it, but like, you're getting it because it told me so much information. Absolutely love it. I've done the women's health test, and they also do vitamins and supplements. And I think it's just absolutely amazing. For those of you who have not heard of Everlywell, if you've listened to us for a long time, we regularly talk about them. It is digital healthcare designed for you with personalized results and accessible tools for long-term health. They have over 30 at-home lab tests and high-quality vitamins and supplements. You're going to be able to find the perfect test for you or your loved one. And it's super easy. It ships straight to your door or your loved one's door. Everything that you need is in one package. And then you just collect the sample and ship it back to the certified lab in a prepaid envelope that is included with the test. And then the digital physician reviewed results are sent straight to your preferred device in just days. And if you ordered vitamins and supplements, you can start adding them to your daily routine right away. It's so simple. Over 1 million people, including us, have trusted Everlywell to support their health and wellness goals. And now you can help you and your loved ones do the same. The gift of health has never been so easy to share than it is this holiday. For listeners of Coffee Convos, Everlywell is offering a discount of 20% off an at-home lab test at everlywell.com/convos. That's everlywell.com/convos for 20% off your next at-home lab test. everlywell.com/convos.
I'll never forget Larry from Teen Mom. He told me that he used to be a family attorney. And I don't know if I've said this before, but that's something that I've wanted to do for a long time, is be an attorney, be a lawyer. And I would ask him about his experience. And he said that when he did family law, it was really draining because even the parent who, quote, wins the trial or the mediation or whatever that looks like and gets what they want, the child still loses.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, someone was still losing. Nobody really wins. The child doesn't win. Neither parent wins. Even if they get what they want, they're not being with their child 100% of the time. And so I'll never forget when he said that. And it really did shape the way that I feel about, split time, split custody and things like that now.
Just to expand on this a little bit, because I do think that ego can get involved in stuff like this. And it's your wants, you're thinking about what you want when you're fighting someone else, right? Because that person was your ex, whether you were married to them or not. In my case, my ex-husband. So, you're thinking, okay, well, I don't want him to get one more day than me. And he doesn't want me to get one more day than him, because it's about winning and it's about fighting with each other. But when you really break it down and you get outside, once you have the custody arrangement, whatever, and you are over a year out of divorce, the emotions look very differently than when you're initially going through it, because all emotions are so heightened in that moment. And I think that people get wrapped up in that and don't think about how the kids are being hurt. 50-50 is not always the best way. And sometimes it is the best way. The child does well with dad and does well with mom, and there's no reason for it to be any other way. In our case, that is very much true. Sometimes I feel like Jackson needs to see Will when he's with me, so we'll go over there and let him play basketball. And sometimes I feel like Will notices that Jackson needs me when he has him, and we're trying to lean more into that. But I think that doesn't come until later. And I wanted to try to do everything so right from the time that we started going through this, that I think I let my emotions get a hold of me early on and was actually ended up fighting against myself and didn't even realize it, if that makes sense.
No, I've definitely been there. Probably more times. I mean, it's always really hard in the beginning, at least for me. I watched another TikTok. It was a lawyer in Arizona, and she was saying how she's kind of basically saying the same thing as you. And then to go further into it a little bit, she was like, just because you have to make adjustments and stuff in a parenting plan doesn't necessarily mean you need to go to court and modify.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You have to consider the financial and the mentally draining aspect of it. If you have a parenting plan and you're doing something that's working outside of the parenting plan, go ahead. But that doesn't mean that you need to go right back to court and change it, because what are you gaining from that if what you're doing is already working? So like you said, if you feel like Jackson needs to go see Will for a little bit, you'll go play basketball, make something work. That's one thing that I do miss about, my relationship with Hobby was up until the end of the summer was so flexible with Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
And he said something to both of us at football on Sunday. And he was like, you get along and then you don't get along and then you do and then you don't. And he basically was saying that it was exhausting. And I said, unfortunately, that's between me and your dad. I said, but you need to, focus on you in football. But he can't, because he wants his parents to be friends. He wants them to get along at the very least. And
it's a sad reality, Kail, when your kids can identify that to you in a way that comes across so clear,
yes. But Lindsay, it's not me.
I'm going to be praying for that situation, even though you don't believe in prayer. I do. So I will do the prayers for that situation, and hopefully Hobby's heart will soften and hear Lincoln, and both of you guys collectively hear him, because it's something that Will and I have had to do and step back out of our own feelings. Jackson.
This man, I put so much thought and time into football, and I was the team mom because he was the head coach. I didn't even get a thank you for his coach's gift. Never thanked me for anything I did for the football season. That's how bad of a term we're on. And it's not because of me. I don't care what anyone says. It is not because of me. I'm so far past that. If he wants to be in a relationship or not, I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable with that. And I want to be on civil terms, talking terms for my son because my son loves us both. But yeah, I didn't even get it. That's how not good of terms that we're on. Like, he won't even look at me or speak to me if I'm in his presence.
I think that you have to step back from that situation and realize that that's something internally that he's struggling with, whatever that may be. And it's not a reflection of whatever you're doing. So
no, and I know that because of therapy, but he'll blame me. You know what I mean? And he'll cuss me out for talking about it, but this is my real life. This is what I'm struggling with. I did nothing to deserve, the treatment that I've gotten. I mean, when I gave his family the gift bag for the end of the season, I emailed him and because they were all joking about taking stuff out of his gift bag. And that's just how his family is. But just because I don't know if they would or not, there's like gift cards and stuff like that in there. And the company that I got the plaques made for accidentally sent out of all the fucking coaches, they accidentally sent me 2 with Javi's name on them.
Oh,
and I'm
shit.
like, because now it looks like I did it purposely and I didn't. And I messaged the guy and I was like, hey, you accidentally sent me 2 with Javi's name on it and you're missing one of our other coaches or whatever. And so I had Lincoln right on the bag, like, here's an extra one for you. They accidentally sent us a second one because I didn't want it to feel like it was coming from me. And I sent him an email and I said, hey, I just want to make sure that you got your gift. Your family was like joking about taking stuff out of the gift bags, but I just want to make sure you know what was in there. Never got a response, never got a thank you. And literally just a thank you. You know what I mean? Goes a long way. If we could just be on those types of terms, I would be thankful for Lincoln.
I think that, you hope for the best in these cases when stuff like this happens. It's like you expect the worst, you hope for the best, and anything better than the worst is good.
That's a good way to put it.
The sad thing is that you and Javi have such an ability. When you guys are on great terms, you co-parent so well. And it is truly so inspiring that I've picked up a lot of things that you guys do when you're well.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's been 6-7 years since we got divorced and we know what we're capable of. So why at 7 years are we not okay to just, say thank you to each other or hi and bye? I don't care. Like I said, I don't care if he's in a relationship, if he's not. Hi and bye, I think that's fine. There's no boundaries crossed. Hello, how are you? In front of Lincoln at the very least.
That was a really hard thing for me when we were going through parenting therapy or whatever while, Jackson's doing his play therapy. And she was telling us, to put on a united front in front of Jackson, whether we wholeheartedly want to be doing that individually or not, that the benefit that the child's receiving far outweighs what we're losing by doing that.
Yes, I agree with that.
And I do wholeheartedly agree with that. And I'm in a place, but I will tell you, I was not in a place early on because I have never known Will to be with anybody else. And so for me to have to have the thoughts of him being with somebody else or see him with somebody else, I'm sure he had some of those same feelings of, seeing me with somebody else, knowing that I was with somebody else. I think a lot of that comes in to play. And then just your history of, possible hookups and stuff like that. Like, I'm not saying that that's you, but it's definitely me. So, that comes into play too.
There's a difference between boundaries and just being fucking nasty. And Javi and I haven't hooked up in God knows how long, that's not even a factor right now. So just being able to say hi and bye, would have been nice, but.
Wait, so this leads me, I was having a conversation with multiple people who I know who have gone through the divorce process because I was, regularly, as I do, just scrolling TikTok. And ran across this TikTok that was talking about filing for divorce and like what that looks like from a physical aspect post, and how a lot of times that, post divorce filing, that you are still hooking up, and it's actually more common than it's not.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so I asked a couple of people, because I wanted to do my own research to know, like, okay, you've been through the divorce process. So were you guys hooking up during that time? And a lot of people told me that, yes, that was common for them. And then I had one person that I asked that said, absolutely not. He would not even be able to like look at his ex-wife in that way. And so was that common for y'all through the divorce process or no?
The actual divorce process, I can't really remember. I know when we went to marriage boot camp, Hobby was that was 10-ish months into the divorce filings, and he was still actively trying to make it work. I don't think he ever believed that I was actually filing for divorce. So I remember I asked for separate beds. That was like my one stipulation for marriage boot camp, but he was actively trying to get back together and then wanted to try to reconcile. I don't think we were actually hooking up because I was with Chris. And I mean, if Chris said jump, I said how high, like I was not going to jeopardize my relationship with him at the time. And then when Chris and I started falling out, Javi was still willing to make it work. So I don't think that through the actual divorce filing process we were hooking up, but shortly thereafter, yeah.
Oh, obviously, mine and Will's situation and like what was going on there. And I think that I'll have to find the TikTok and post it for you guys, because I can't describe all of it. I can't remember everything that was said, but it was basically just along the lines of like, it's a very common thing that happens. And I had always heard that typically, when a marriage is over, when the physical part goes away, like once that part's gone, it's very hard to get that back. And for us, through our process, that part didn't go away until well after the divorce filing.
Yeah. I mean, Javi and I tried several times to get back together after we were legally divorced. And now that I think about it, when I filed for divorce, I even, him and I went back and forth because he was deployed. I filed before he was deployed, but when he was deployed, we even went back and forth. There were periods of time when we were going to work it out and when we weren't going to work it out. And then we would go back to, okay, we are going to work it out. So even during that time, we couldn't have been physical because he was away, but there were periods of time where we're like, okay, maybe, I think there was a period of time where I even said that I rescinded the papers, but I didn't, because I just wanted him to be okay while he was gone. I didn't want him to worry about, this divorce while he was deployed, because I can't imagine what that felt like. But also at the same time, it was like, before he left, he told me he filed twice. So that's ultimately why I filed, was because I felt like I had this over my head, not once, but twice in a very short amount of time. And I don't think that people realized like that part that I was going through. So
I've always heard people who get to the point where they want to file for divorce that, it should be a race to who can get there first, because you always want to be the filer, not the, defendant or whatever.
Oh.
And in my case, I never even thought about that. Like that was never even a thought process that I went through. It was, I thought about every person involved. And honestly, I told someone this the other day that I think I stayed in the marriage longer than I should have because of Will's parents, because I was so close to them for such a long period of time that I didn't want to disappoint them.
Yeah, that was really hard for me too, was like, I loved Javi's family so much. That was really, really difficult for me. And our divorce was so ugly and so public. I didn't know about the like rushing to, like racing to go. I just remember I sat in David Beaver's office and I was like, my husband said he filed for divorce, and he looked, because you can see like filings, and he was like, he did not. In fact, file for divorce. So I said, okay, well, I guess this is my sign to file. And I filed right then and there. But on the flip side of it, when it came to custody with Chris, I had a lawyer tell me, go file for custody immediately. So, you have paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I let that attorney go and I got a new one, she was like, I would have never filed for custody. She was like, it was going perfectly fine. And basically he didn't want any parts. Not that he didn't want any parts, but he was kind of in and out as he pleased. And I almost he probably would have fell off had I not filed for custody. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because now it's
always a risk whenever, you involve a legal team. I always
for
say
sure.
that. I'm like, some decisions that I've made, I look back on it and I'm like, you know what? I probably could have just hollered it out with Will and carried on with our stupidity and incurred way less legal fees and done it that way.
Yeah.
But I think that you get so scared in that moment that you're like, okay, you know what? No, like I'm going to get this attorney because they're going to tell you about yourself.
Yeah, facts.
And then I still be the one that ends up telling him about himself. So I'm like, wait, I paid you to tell him about himself. And then I had to tell him about himself. And then his people told me about myself.
Yeah, it's always tricky. Coffee Convos podcast is brought to you by BetterHelp. So it is the holiday season, and for some people, it's not an easy time. So I want to remind you guys that your mental health is important, and unfortunately, life doesn't come with a user manual. So when it's not working for you, it's normal to feel stuck. Therapists are trained to help you figure out the cause of your challenging emotions and learning productive coping skills, which is something I've been working on for 3 years now. BetterHelp has connected over 3 million people with licensed therapists. It's super convenient, it's secure, and it's accessible anywhere, 100% online. So you don't have to worry about waiting in uncomfortable waiting rooms, which I hate. And actually, if you don't want to be seen on camera, you don't have to be.
I can tell you nothing makes me happier than getting messages from our listeners of this show saying that they are using BetterHelp. It makes me so excited because I know what therapy's done for me. And I just think that this is such a great option. And it has all of the benefits of in-person therapy, but it's more convenient, more accessible, and more affordable. You're just going to fill out a brief questionnaire to match with a therapist. And if things aren't clicking with that person, which sometimes does happen, you can easily switch to a new therapist at any time. So it could not be simpler. No waiting rooms, no traffic, no endless searching for the right therapist. You can get unstuck with BetterHelp. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/coffee. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/coffee.
No matter how much you try to prepare for the holiday season, it is always chaos. And even at my house, and you guys know how I feel about the holidays, but right about now, seasonal excitement or dread is really starting to settle in, especially for small businesses. I've owned a small business, and the effort, time, motivation it takes to get to the post office is something I would skip in a heartbeat. And thankful for stamps.com because it's never too late to get your holiday mailing and shipping under control. Sign up now and you'll be printing your own postage in minutes, and you can skip the lines at the post office.
Let's back up because stamps.com is literally going to be your one-stop shop for all of your shipping and mailing needs. And I think that it is amazing. You're going to get access to USPS and UPS services that you need to run your business right from your computer. So you're not going to wait in any lines, no traffic, no hassle, and you're going to save money with major discounts on USPS and UPS shipping rates, up to 86% off, which is huge. And it is a stress-free solution for every small business. And this holiday season, you can trade late nights for silent nights and get started with stamps.com today. Sign up with promo code COFFEE for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and free digital scale, no long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to stamps.com, click the microphone at the top of the page, and enter code COFFEE.
Can we move on from this? Because I have something
that I have to tell you. I have to tell you one more thing.
Go.
So
Yeah.
This was in the Kitty Gang Telegram. So if you guys aren't on it,
Part of that.
You should be part of that. Kail shared a video that she promised that she was going to share from last week, which I want to say collectively, I believe every part of the Kitty Gang feels like Kail might be going through a state of psychosis.
What do you mean?
The wiener was not real. The coloration was off, first of all. No one goes like exactly that straight and moves in that way. Like I've never seen one move around like that before ever in my life.
See, I feel like I have.
Who? Who?
Like the big ones.
I already know who. Bye. But onto more humble things. I saw this message that said, Lindsay, I was just listening to Coffee Combos about Jackson leaving his stuff, needs, and wants at your house or Will's house and having them get brought to him. Sometimes kids will do this if they're still thinking their parents will get back together and are trying to get them to talk and see each other,
yep, I saw this.
Especially if they're getting along. Something to keep in mind. What are your thoughts on this?
I don't think I ever experienced that. I think because my kids were so young when I went through the divorce, I don't think that they thought of that. But had I gotten divorced now, I think they would have, because they're pretty smart and they're clever. That does make sense to me. And Jackson being an only child, he doesn't know any different. He has known his parents together for, his whole life. So I could see that being something that Jackson could maybe have done.
I definitely know my child. And when whoever typed this, Linda, when you typed this, I was like, are you spying on my kid?
So you feel the same?
Yes, I do. I think that there's definitely an element of Jackson is unorganized as fuck. And the only organization that he has in his life comes from Will Campbell or myself. So some of the stuff I think is like he goes to play his game over there and then he realizes like, oh crap, I don't have it, so I need to get it. But I do think that there's an underlying element of what she's saying in there. I do.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
God bless you, Jackson Campbell. Love you, baby.
Oh, my heart. I saw another thing in the Facebook group and it said, question, has anyone had a mommy makeover? I've lost so much weight in the past few months. I'm getting a mommy makeover exactly 1 month from today and want to know what to expect recovery-wise. I'm getting lipo and tummy tuck, breast lift, no implants, and chin lipo. Any suggestions when it comes to recovery? Okay, so recovery, I have to be completely honest with you guys. You're going to feel like you got hit by a truck. You're going to feel like you're literally dying on the bed afterwards. The healing process absolutely sucks from the lipo. But because you're getting lipo and a breast lift as well, it will take away a little bit of pain from the tummy tuck. I've heard when you just go get a tummy tuck by itself, it's the worst recovery. When I went, I did not get implants by Dr. Miami, contrary to whatever rumors you guys heard or whatever. Dr. Miami did not do my boobs. I had BBL, lipo, tummy tuck, and then I also had him do my chin and my arms. A lot of times you don't get your arms done with the mommy makeover, but I was like, if I'm going to get lipo 360, I need everything to match. The lipo for me and the BBL was the worst, so I felt no pain from my tummy tuck. I also couldn't lay on my back because of my tummy tuck, but because it sounds like you're not getting a BBL, you'll be able to lay on your back, which will also be really nice. It's going to suck. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The lipo is by far the worst cosmetic procedure pain recovery that I've ever dealt with. But it is worth it, in my opinion. I also plan to get a breast lift and reduction sometime next year if I can lose the weight. My only regret is not waiting until I was done having kids, and I wish you the best of luck. Definitely take your meds, and if you can eat on them, the pain meds and the antibiotics, please do, because if you try to take them on an empty stomach, you will throw up. My poor friend India had no idea what she was in for when she offered to come help me in Miami, and she actually thought I don't know why we thought this, but I had to be there for 10 days and she thought that it was going to be like a 2-day recovery and then we were going to go out and stuff. And she was not okay changing like my little blood bags. And when I threw up, I needed help. You're literally going to feel like you died.
I've taken care of Kail sick before.
Yeah.
One time. I didn't think it was that bad, but also is your friend a mom?
No.
Okay. So I think that that's the difference because moms just have different guts.
Oh,
like
100%. 100%.
totally different guts. I have no experience with like a mommy makeover. Like maybe I should get one, but I don't have any experience with that other than I've had implants and I woke up and thought that they did something to my coochie. So like that's a whole other story that was captured on Chrisley Knows Best. Yeah, that was just like a 4-hour surgery and my recovery
Did you think it was bad?
Super easy. No, I didn't think it was bad at all.
See,
Not at all.
I definitely am excited to do like the boob situation. Hopefully next year. Dr. Miami said he's ready when I am.
Throw some D's on it.
Please don't throw some D's on them because I already have triple D's. And yeah, lipo is because you guys, if you have never seen a lipo procedure, it is not a fun time. I highly recommend if you are getting lipo, do not, and I'm telling
watch
you this,
lipo videos.
do
or
not,
TikToks.
yes, 100%. Do not watch lipo videos before you get it done. You can watch them after, but don't watch them before because you might back out. And in fact, in January of 2018, I went back to Miami after I had Lux. And these are when those awful pictures of me surfaced on the beach in Miami and I had cellulite all down my legs and stuff. I ended up backing out of the surgery. I don't really remember. I thought, you know what? I'll just lose it on my own. I don't want to go through this again because the lipo is that bad. But again, I don't regret it. So, it's good. You're going to feel like shit for a couple weeks, but you're going to love the results.
There was something else that was in there that both of us, really latched onto on the Facebook group. And it was about gender disappointment.
Oh, and first of all, I was reading those comments while I was rocking Creed to sleep. And I'm going to let you speak on it first. There was one comment in particular that kind of irritated me and rubbed me the wrong way. So I'm going to let you say your feelings on it. And then I'm going to mention mine.
Okay. So when I got pregnant, I think it's a natural thing to have a desire to have a boy or a girl.
Yeah.
When I was a little girl, I always played, babies, and my baby was always a boy, and I only always had like one baby and it was a boy. So in my mind, like as an adult that I'm going through this process, I'm like, I really want a boy. I did all of those like little tests that like probably aren't even like the real thing because it wasn't a blood test, but like the ones you can get from CVS where you pee in it and it's like, if it turns this color, it'll be this.
Yes.
So everything that I did was boy. And so I was like, okay, but I had convinced myself that it was a girl. So if I got to the doctor and they didn't see a wiener, I would be like, you know what? It's okay because I already thought it was a girl.
Okay. So you basically like prepared yourself for either way.
Either way. However, as long as the doctor told me, like in all reality, as long as the doctor told me you have a healthy, active, growing, precious baby, it wouldn't have mattered to me long term. Like I love that I'm a boy mom, but it wouldn't have mattered to me had it been a girl. My life would have just looked different and I wouldn't have known any different. So
right.
It wouldn't have mattered. I think a lot of people go through gender disappointment because they have their mind so set that like they want a daughter or they want a son, and that's just it. A lot of times you see these types of things when, men want to carry on their family's last name. And so they're dead set on they're going to keep trying to have a boy. And then they just like keep spitting out girls. I don't understand the gender disappointment because I can understand having a desire to have one or the other, but to be disappointed, to me, I just like, don't fuck with that.
So
I'm not judging people who do, though, by the way. Just want to say that.
When I was pregnant with Isaac, I wanted a boy. But I convinced myself that it was a girl also. Mm-hmm. And I had I was going to have the boy name picked out, and then Joe wanted a girl. So he wanted to pick out the girl name, which I've said before, Brooklyn. Thank God we didn't have a Brooklyn because there's 100 of them. And then I never found out for Lincoln or Lux. I found out for Creed. I did not actually have gender disappointment with Creed. I didn't shed a tear. I didn't really care. It was just like, oh, what, like kind of laugh it off. Like I only produce boys kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Expected.
Yeah. But I also agree with you when you said that it's like a natural thing to want a boy or a girl. I have seen people, be really upset that they're having one gender over the other. The comment that kind of irked my nerves a little bit, and I want to say this with empathy and compassion, so please don't take this the wrong way. But it's also something that my cousin went through, and so I want to tread lightly, but I also have feelings on it. Someone basically said, well, I want a baby and you should be happy with what you get, and I do understand that perspective, but also people that can get pregnant and have gender disappointment, you can't tell them to not have gender disappointment, that they should just be happy with what they get. The struggles are not the same, and you cannot compare pain. You can't compare the disappointment. And I don't think it's fair to, because it's not someone else's fault it's nobody's fault that someone can get pregnant or can't get pregnant. And maybe I'll get canceled for that. But, there was a time where I couldn't get pregnant. I had secondary infertility, and my doctor said, you should be happy with what you have, 2 healthy boys, and move on. And that's kind of the mindset that I had for a little while. So, and I understood that. It was like, okay, like, and I know there are people, and he told me, he said, there's people struggling at 40 years old to have one child, like, be happy with what you have. And I understood that. And, it's just one of those things where it's like, you can't, as hard as it is, you can't compare circumstances or the disappointment or being able to get pregnant or not pregnant. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like, for me, I do live by, you should feel blessed with your blessings. However, just because you feel blessed with your blessings doesn't mean that you don't have a desire for something else. And,
right.
I will say, I went through a period of time when I was married to Will, and us, going through the process of, do we want another? Do we not? Are we too toxic? Are we not? Like, are we just like a little bit toxic and like we could probably do this? Going through that whole process, and the thoughts of having another child with him, I'm not going to lie. Like, there was a part of me once I already had Jackson that if I got pregnant again, I would have loved to just like stay a boy mom and would have been totally fine with that. Right. But a big part of me was like, I was the first girl that one of their boys dated that was seriously, gave them their first grandchild, and it was a boy. And now like, I want to give a girl, and like definitely went through that whole process, and could tell you that if someone else had gotten pregnant with a girl before me, I probably would have been disappointed. I'm not going to lie. Like, I don't know if the word is proper to be disappointed. I don't know what the right word would be, because I would have been still happy. You know what I mean? Like, I would have still been happy, but still like longed for something else.
Yeah. And I feel like it's human nature.
And like, you can't tell someone else like what they can like be upset, saddened, hurt, what they're longing for, like that they're not allowed to do that.
So how do you feel like when women who can't get pregnant and they are like, you should just be happy with what you get?
No, I don't. I feel like I don't feel like anybody has the right to say that to someone.
I brought it back to, there was a time where one of my girlfriends, I think I've said it on this podcast before, one of my girlfriends was in community college. I think she was taking 2 classes, and I had 6 classes at a 4-year university. And she was struggling with her 2 kids. I had 2 kids. I was pregnant. I was making it work. And she was just saying how hard it was for her. And I was bitching to our other friend, our mutual friend. And she said, Kail, you cannot sit here and tell her that she's not having a hard time or that she's not struggling just because you're taking on something different than her. You guys have different strengths and weaknesses. You cannot tell her that she's not struggling. You cannot get mad at her because she can't handle what you can handle, because there's probably something else in her life that she can handle that you wouldn't be able to. And I kind of brought it back to that when I read the comment, and she was, the woman, was talking about how just be happy with what you get, because I can't get pregnant. And it's, she was very upset by the gender disappointment thing. But I mean, gender disappointment is real. Like, people do have that. They do struggle with that. And so you can't tell them not to be upset because you can't get pregnant. But also I guess I can't tell someone that can't get pregnant that they can't get upset about people who are, I guess it comes full circle.
1000%. I would love to know what other people think about this.
Pear Eyewear. I actually go to the eye doctor tomorrow to get a new prescription. And Lux is getting his first pair of glasses. So Kristen texted me last night and she was like, these would be perfect for Lux, which is, she's not lying. These are going to be perfect. And he'll be able to switch them out, which I know he's going to think is so cool. Change is really hard, but changing your glasses is usually harder than it should be. I hate when I go see like a really, really cool pair of glasses and I'm like, okay, these are cool, but they don't match anything. With Pear Eyewear, you get different top frames. So you can get the cool ones, but you can also get like a classic solid color that will match other things for other occasions. And they're magnetic.
Whoever invented this is
game changer.
Literally so smart.
Seriously. And it's easy on your bank account too. So I don't know if you guys have gone to the eye doctor and paid like hundreds and hundreds of dollars for glasses. It's not that way with Pear Eyewear. They're very affordable, and you essentially get more pairs of glasses with the top frame. So it's super nice. And now that I'm going to have to pay for myself and for Lux, it's going to, be nicer on my bank account with Pear Eyewear.
You can stock up on style with 20% off during Pear's holiday sale. So now is the perfect time for you to be able to do that. You can choose from a range of iconic vase shapes starting at just $60, including prescription. What are you guys waiting for? This holiday season, celebrate changing things up whenever you feel like it with Pear. For a limited time, shop Pear's holiday sale for 20% off. It's their biggest sale of the year. Just go to paireyewear.com for 20% off. That's Pair, P-A-I-R, eyewear.com.
All right, you guys, I want to tell you guys about ZocDoc, actually remind you of ZocDoc. They have real reviews. They have the right doctors, quality doctors, and I promise you're going to find the doctors that are going to work for you. I can't tell you how many times I've had to book several appointments with different doctors because I didn't have access to reviews. And the ZocDoc makes it easy to find quality doctors in your network and in your neighborhood.
When I tell you I use this all the time since we found out about it, actually had something going on with my eye like a while ago and was able to use ZocDoc and love it. For those of you who have not heard of ZocDoc, it is a free app and it shows you doctors who are patient reviewed, takes your insurance, and are available when you need them. And truly, you can find any specialist under the sun when you're using ZocDoc. So if you're trying to straighten your teeth, you have like an achy back and you're trying to fix that, you need to get a mole checked out, ZocDoc is going to have you covered. And literally their mobile app is as easy as ordering like a ride to a restaurant or getting delivery. It is absolutely amazing. You can go to ZocDoc.com, find the doctor that's right for you, book an appointment in person or remotely, which is also a nice little option, and do it when it works for your schedule. Every month, millions of people use ZocDoc. I am one of them. It is my go-to whenever I need to find and book a quality doctor. Go to ZocDoc.com/convos and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then start your search for a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc.com/convos, ZocDoc.com/convos. I need to ask you a question. I talked about, I'm going to just give you an update because like you're unaware, but Kristen and I talked about my relationship with Suburban Dad on the Southern Tea and like went into that whole thing. And it caused me to want to ask you about toxic relationships because I know that like you have had a struggle with that and found yourself in a couple of different situations. I find myself relating to you a lot more as I go on with my life and just like different areas, whether it be motherhood, relationships, whatever. I have told you so many times, I don't know how like that happened to you or, like you're smarter than that. Like, I don't see how you would ever fall for that. There's been so many things I've said like along the way. But I do think that it's much easier to get involved in relationships that are toxic than what I thought. The ignoring of red flags.
Well, also I think in the beginning, sometimes you're so in lust, or maybe they don't always show all the like there's a difference between red flags and then accepting someone's actual flaws. And so sometimes I think when you're meeting someone who sounds good, who looks good on paper, who's treating you really well, maybe you chalk the red flags up to flaws a little bit, or they don't seem as red as they really are. And so, or there's love bombing too. Like they seem perfect all the way around in the beginning and you're so far sucked in. And then that's when the toxicity hits. I think there's also that. So it's not just, yeah, of course there are relationships where we're ignoring the red flags, which is me with somebody and maybe you with somebody, but there are other times where you think it's great and then you're already sucked in before it's toxic. And then you could have never seen it coming.
I want to ask you if this was ever your thought process. So you start dating someone and you notice some things that like feel off. In my situation, it was, we started going on dates and we wouldn't really text that much. But when we did, it would be sometime like in the day, would never be at night. And it would be like every couple of days, which I thought was weird. And then only see each other like once every 7 or 8 days.
That's called breadcrumbing.
Wait, what?
It's called breadcrumbing.
And what's that?
It's essentially like you're somebody that you're interested in or someone that you are, seeing will spend some time with you and make you feel like you're on top of make you feel really good and then drop off the face of the earth for 3 days.
Yeah.
And then see them again. And then maybe they drop off the face of the earth for 5 days. And breadcrumbing to me is probably worse than any fucking thing else out there. Like as far as like the red flags, because that will get you attached in a way that you have no fucking, like Lindsay, when this person breadcrumbed the fuck out of me, and I also didn't want to be the one that, because he would tell me that like he would have girls like immediately fall in love and like all. And so I never wanted to be that person that would do that or ask, what are we, or anything like that. I wanted to be different. So he would love me. Like he would pick me essentially because I'm different. I'm not asking you, what are we? I'm not begging to see you when you're not texting me. You're not texting me for 3 days. I'm not texting you either.
I did all of those things.
Yep.
I did exactly those
It's breadcrumbing, but you're actually, it's a double-edged sword because you can't win. You cannot, I know what you're talking about. And I want to scream through this fucking microphone because that's exactly what I would wait and wait and wait. And like, it was the adrenaline and the thrill of waiting for when that next text to hang out would be.
Yes. And like, okay, so maybe 3 days would pass and it would be like, what's your schedule look like this week? And then, give the schedule of availability and then able to hang out, able to see each other. Then, when you're going to that dinner or you're going to, watch a movie or like whatever that is, that you don't want that night to be over because you're not going to hear from them for like another 4 or 5 days. And had I been more in tune with what was actually going on and less in tune with the fact that I, wanted to play it cool and be like, you know what? I'm going to let things go at his speed. I'm going to be a cool girl. He can text me when he wants to text me. I'm not reaching out. If he wants to take me on a dinner date, he can reach out and ask me. So I was so wrapped up in that.
Yep.
That I was pretty much avoiding the fact that the entire situation was a red flag.
Yep. The same thing happened to me. And that had never happened to me before. That was the first time I'd ever been breadcrumbed. So I didn't know. Yeah, there was other red flags, I'm sure. I mean, I'm trying to think back. But he had already breadcrumbed me for 6 months before I was invested to the point where like the red flag started showing. So the breadcrumbing in and of itself was, yes, a red flag, but I didn't know it at the time. And so breadcrumbing is awful. It's so fucking horrible. And I have to say that in that way, because to me, that's abuse. Now that I know, now that I've been in therapy, like that is abuse. But it's crazy because the abusee becomes the abuser. My very next relationship, I did the same thing to that person. It was fucked up.
You have to be super mindful and diligent not to carry toxic behavior and patterns into next things because that's when it becomes cycles. And I was so diligent with my therapy, things that I did in my marriage and things that were done within my marriage, whether it be by Will or by me. I identified those things to my therapist to talk through those things, work through those things, because I had such a desire to do all of the right things and whatever was next for me that I didn't want to repeat those patterns. So I do think that when you got to be very mindful of what becomes your norm.
Yeah, I agree.
There was 2 pieces of advice that I saw, and I just want to read them. We don't really have to like go into them because they speak for themselves, but I saw something on Twitter and it said, loyalty should never come at the expense of integrity. Anyone who asks you to violate your values doesn't deserve your allegiance. Respecting your boundaries is a foundation of trust. The people worthy of commitment expect you to stand by your principles, not conform to theirs.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. I feel like that's solid advice. That's a solid.
The other thing I saw was a TikTok. I'll post it either on my personal or Coffee Combos. And it says, the number one skill needed for a long-lasting relationship is not date nights. It's not holiday cruises. It's not walks on the beach. It's not giving each other gifts. It's not cooking for each other. It's learning how to fight. The truth is, any good relationship will always have conflict. You're never going to be in a scenario where you're dating where you don't argue, you don't have a disagreement, because it's going to happen.
That is so true. And I hate when I read communication is key. Communication is not fucking key. Communication, yes, you can communicate until you're blue in the fucking face.
Communicate my middle finger.
Literally understand what my middle finger means, because you can communicate all fucking day. If the other person is not hearing you, if they're not processing, if they're not receiving the information, or they do not understand, it's never going to get resolved. So communication is not it. Like I've been in relationships where I've communicated in several different ways. Understanding is key, and knowing how to argue. Like the other day, Elijah said, I was trying to talk to Elijah about something, and he kind of just like rolled his eyes, and I said, this is a conversation. It's not an argument. Like, you don't need to, roll your eyes or huff and puff. I said, we're adults. We can have a conversation without arguing. And Elijah and I never argue. Like I don't know, almost a year now, we've only gotten into like actual arguments. Because I don't play that. I've been through it already. I've been through the screaming matches. I've been through, I pushed my ex-husband, things like that.
We're good on that.
I'm all the way good on that. I never want to go back to toxic Kail. I'm sure I still have a little bit of toxicity in me, but I'm like, we can just have conversations, but we have to hear each other. We have to be able to express how we feel without the other person getting mad, rolling their eyes, huffing and puffing, walking away. You have to know how to argue, or just disagree even.
For my Yellowstone lovers, I'm going to Beth Dutton that bitch every time. And when she says to Rip, I love you, I'll see you at home, but fuck you. Middle finger, meat face.
What?
We're done.
What?
We're done. Like, that is my form of communication. So whether you want to call it toxic communication, whatever kind of communication you want to call it, typically before I start communicating in something, I've already decided what I'm going to say and what avenue like I'm willing to go down and how far I'm willing to take it. I believe that a key to a successful relationship is knowing how each other argues and fights.
I agree. I wholeheartedly. And that goes with, I'm not just talking about like romantic relationships. That goes with co-working relationships, friendships, family relationships. That's like, you all have to know how to argue appropriately or disagree appropriately. And I'm still working on that.
Well, I'm glad that you're working on that. I'm also going to be working on that as well. I did want to ask this one question, mainly because I want to know what yours is. And it's like very quick. So this person says, okay, kitty gang, I have a weird habit. I can't go to sleep without a glass of chocolate milk. Anyone else have something that they must do before bed?
What the fuck? That's awesome though. See, my therapist said, because I suffer from insomnia so bad, just getting into a routine where your body starts to associate that cue with bedtime. And I never believed it, but there's a reason why they say to have your kids on a routine, but it also works for adults. I take CBD before bed with my supplements, and I don't stay asleep, but I do, like, I'll take all my supplements, ask Kristen, I sent her a picture of all my stuff, and then I take CBD, and my body knows it's basically time to fall asleep. I won't stay asleep, but I will fall asleep.
Well, the weird thing that I do before bed that's like not weird is like I have to put something on my lips. Like I cannot go to bed with my lips dry.
Okay. I also love
Aquaphor, like a lip mask, like something. My
so
lips.
they're not dry.
Yeah, I'm not going to bed with my lips dry.
Your body associates that with, okay, my lips are moisturized. I can lay down now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I also can't sleep without the fan on. Not for the like the feeling of it, but the noise.
It's the noise.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Best Fiends. I feel like I've been playing for years, basically because I have been playing for years, but I love it. I think their characters are so cute, and I'm at a very high level. I'm in like the maybe 2000s or something like that. Sometimes I will go on there whenever I'm just like decompressing at night, and I'll just be laying in my bed and doing this, and it's a fun little puzzle game.
I love it. You can collect all the cutest characters. I don't know what level I'm on anymore. I'd have to go check, but you can collect tons of fiends and get powered as you play more levels. Every win brings new challenges, thousands of puzzles to play, and my memory isn't great, so this also helps with that for me. Download Best Fiends for free from the App Store or Google Play, plus earn even more with $5 worth of in-game rewards when you reach level 5. That's friends without the R, Best Fiends. All right, I need to tell you a story this morning. I took all 4 of my children to the dentist, and when we were getting in the car in my garage, I dropped my phone face down on the concrete in my garage, and Lincoln picked it up and was like, "Ooh, this isn't going to be good." And then he looked at it and he's like, "Oh, no cracks." Well, no cracks because I have bodyguards on my phone with a screen protector, and we've talked about this before. I actually have several colors of these cases, and I have several screen protectors. So these are designed with every nuance of the phone in mind. So they fit perfectly on your phone. The cases are super slim and pocket friendly. So you barely even know you have it on there. And they have tons of new colors and styles. And they're engineered to protect your phone from up to 10 feet or as high as 14 feet, which is nice. I mean, thankfully I'm not 14 feet tall, but I did drop it from about 5 feet, and I was really nervous because I just got this phone. But Lincoln was like, "Can you get me one of those for my phone?" And so I definitely need to do that because he's had like a really big bulky case on his phone. So Bodyguards is the perfect phone case for all phones.
I am also going to reveal that every person that I purchase gifts for Christmas is also going to get a Bodyguards case and screen protector.
Stocking stuffers.
They're stocking. Yes, they are. And it makes me feel good because when you buy from Bodyguards, a portion of your purchase supports their charity foundation called Relief Haven, which gives back to the local community as well as abroad to help children in Africa escape child labor and gain education and self-reliance. So Bodyguards can help you protect your phone, protect the planet, and protect the future of children here and abroad. Go to bodyguards.com/coffee to protect your phone today. That's bodyguards with a Z at the end.com/coffee to start protecting your valuable phone today. Okay, bitch, let's do foul play.
Foul play. Okay. Not a waxing story, but close. In 2011, when I was 19, I made some new friends on a work trip in a whole new city. One day, a girl named B decided that she was going to go get her clit pierced after work, and we were all going.
Oh.
B freshened up after work. Despite whatever piercing you're getting, I don't care. We love that you went and cleaned up because I cannot tell you how many stories I've heard from piercers and tattoo artists of people not cleaning themselves up. Okay,
that's
so
just
B,
so gross.
Yeah.
If you don't.
Well, and how many waxing stories have we heard without freshening up, you know?
Yeah, just foul.
B freshened up after work and we all head to the piercing place. B goes first. Okay, so are they both getting it done? B goes first. I held one leg back and the other girl held the opposite leg. After B was done, the other girl, M, asked the guy if he could change out her clit jewelry because she was unable to do it herself.
I know where this is going.
M did not freshen up after work. So there were 5 of us plus the piercing guy in the tiny room. The smell of sweaty vagina and rubbing alcohol filled the room, and I got pale. I then got hot and sweaty, started to get queasy, and had to run out of the room. I got a drink, cooled off, and was able to recover. There are 2 types of people in the world, a B and an there are 2 types of people in the world. Be a B, not an M. Also, I love you guys. Never miss an episode. That is so fucking foul. Like, I wonder, did he like tell her to like,
okay,
he didn't even go to the bathroom at the piercing place and like you know how like when you go to the OB or the
I was
GYN
going
for
to
your
say this.
annual,
Yes.
and there's like those wipes because you have to wipe from front to back before you do like a pee sample.
Oh, honey, when I see those wipes in there, even though I've showered before I've gone because I, have class, okay? I go in there and I rub one of those things all over my coochie, even though it's like super clean. And then I rub it the way they tell me to as well.
Facts. No, 100%. First of all, I'm not going to. Why didn't she go freshen up? Like, I just don't understand. Like, that's your vagina.
First of all, if you didn't freshen up, but then you were going to drop your drawers and let somebody play with your clit to take a piercing out and like you got sweaty coochie, like no, absolutely not. Furthermore, I didn't even know sweaty coochie was a thing because I don't really sweat that bad, like ever. So I've never had like.
I don't even know if it's so much sweat because I also don't sweat in my coochie, but women do have there is a normal amount of discharge. It probably varies by person. And so throughout the day, you do still have discharge or you do have hormones and things like that are going to be there, no matter how clean you are. But that's so
I wonder
foul.
why I don't really have it.
Like discharge?
Yeah, like that or sweaty coochie.
Well, so I don't know if this is true or not, but I read something about like women who wear tight clothing, like leggings and things like that on a consistent basis. It like breeds bacteria because you don't realize you're sweating, but like there's like things being produced down there and you're just in tight clothes. So if you're in those, also if you always wear underwear, I'm not a doctor. I'm just telling you what I read. Like always wearing underwear and never giving your cat like fresh air can also breed bacteria and stuff like that. And so it can cause more discharge than others. So like for me, I don't ever wear underwear to bed.
Okay, so we can move on after I say this, but I've got a couple things to say. One, I never wear underwear. Like I have some backup pairs of underwear in case like I have to wear them. But I literally don't even wear underwear with blue jeans. Like it's just not a thing for me.
Oh,
blue
so then
shorts,
that could be why you don't have a whole lot of discharge.
Like literally don't even wear it. And growing up, it was bedtime routine. My nanny always used to tell me growing up, like you take a bath, you take a shower, you wash out she called it my lily. You wash out your lily, you put on your pajamas, and you do not put on underwear. Like you got to air your lily out.
Yeah, I've read that that's actually good to make sure you give her some air.
So if anybody's not giving their lily air, give your lily
air. Make some changes. make some immediate changes.
Okay. The second foul play. Hey girls, I love your podcast and figured I would share one of my drinking stories to give you all a laugh. I was on spring break where my two friends decided we should go bar hopping, which I had never done before. Finally, at around midnight, our Uber driver dropped us off at our separate locations. Remind you, I was on spring break, so I was staying at my grandparents' house with my mom. Trying my drunkenly best to sneak in quietly, I go to the bathroom and start to undress. I sat down to pee, and once I was done, I stood up and quickly realized I had to pee some more. Well, as I sat down, of course, I lost my balance, landing right on the toilet and smashing the toilet tank.
Oh, shit.
Water comes spewing out of the toilet all onto the floor, leaking out the bathroom door into my grandparents' living room, and there is literally porcelain pieces everywhere. The loud crash and the sound of a waterfall wakes everyone up in the house. My mom was like, Jessica, what the hell are you doing?
Facts.
Yeah, Jessica, what the fuck are you doing? I guess I was holding a piece of the toilet tank saying, don't worry, I can fix this. I proceed to go back into the bathroom, showing my mom and grandparents how I could just magically piece it back together. First of all, Jessica, you were fucking 10 sheets to the wind. My poor grandpa then goes outside to pee, and since I broke his toilet, somehow gets locked outside for a good 10 minutes while my mom and grandma are trying to put me to bed. The next day, I woke up and was absolutely mortified. Of course, I replaced their toilet immediately. And to this day, 4 years later, I still get teased if I'm going to break the toilet again. First of all,
at least they were good sports about it.
First of all, if you break your grandparents' toilet because you are shit-faced, like good for you. And I'm glad that you have that type of energy. But if I ever fucking broke Faye Chrisley's toilet because I was shit-faced, absolutely not.
She's not having it.
No, she would immediately not be having this. And I would love to know other people's drunken stories that they have like tried to sneak about being drunk and like hide their drunkenness from family members. Cause like I specifically have a story that I'm not going to share today, but I will share it next week.
I don't have any drunken stories. I'll also share my story like later. I'm scared because I might get canceled, but it was about when I was next week. I'll tell. I was 14 when I smoked weed. I can tell that story.
Love that for you.
Okay.
If you guys have not subscribed to Coffee Convos, you can do that by searching the Purple Podcast app. You can find us on Spotify, pretty much any podcast app, wherever you're going to be listening from. Always first on Podcast One. And if you have not followed us on Instagram, you can find us at Coffee Convos Podcast. We hope you bitches have a great week and we'll talk to you soon.
See ya.